Now, for the last few days, I've seen it all over my timeline and social media is 100 human men versus one gorilla. Now, I want to weigh in on this from a more mental or just performance-based aspect from my background being in the mental and psychological science as well as exercise physiology. And I got some opinions on this. Now, the thing is, at face value, I get why everyone says the gorilla would destroy them. Like that clip we just showed, you can see him going crazy and going ham. But this is assuming you just run into it blindly and have a free-for-all, like a Royal Rumble in wrestling. But humans survive this long because we're calculated. Now, obviously, we can't use weapons here. And granted, gorillas, I think 5, 6, 7, 8 times stronger than humans are. So therefore, we don't have that advantage. And the funny thing is, pound for pound, humans are probably one of the most inferior athletic and strength-wise to almost every species. There's animals that can lift 1 time, 2 times, 3 times their body weight, while a lot of humans, and I've seen this firsthand, can't even do half their body weight on most exercises. So that just there, it weeds us out. But when you think about it more deeply and just, oh, it's a big bad gorilla, think about this. We have something that mostly every species doesn't have. We have a built-in cooling system. That's something I thought about. Now, before we get to that point, let's think about this too. The exertion and the sheer power that this gorilla can exert can only go on for so long. We were built to go for miles and miles. That's why humans can run marathons. Most animals can't do this. Like, say, a cheetah, it can run up to 75 miles per hour. But after that, it has to recover because its system has to, one, cool down and also recover from the power it just exerted. Imagine when you went on for your fastest sprint, whether it be in high school, middle school, or the other day at training. What did you have to do? You had to rest for a little bit. But the difference between them and us, our system allows us to come back a little bit quicker based on how our biology is set up. So that's a different story. But going back to the man versus gorilla, I think we might have a chance. I would say maybe 30, 40 casualties might lose their lives. But when you look at the sheer number of people, it can be outmatched. Now, I found a clip where a scientist actually breaks this down, and I'm curious to see what they say because I don't know about gorillas, but maybe they have a better insight to it.
One gorilla, 100 men. Who would win in a fight? The internet has a lot to say.
Gorillas aren't built for long fights. They're like sprinters. They explode for about a minute and then they gas out hard.
Man, I'm taking that gorilla. Man, do people know how big those silverback gorillas are?
Surround it, destruct it, get on it, you know what I mean?
How are you going to kill it? I haven't heard one logical response or explanation because obviously no tools are allowed.
Force.
We have 100 men out there who are willing to die. Give me the men.
100 men versus a silverback gorilla. I want to see 100 men versus a critical thought.
Okay, hold that thought,
what's
though.
not a critical.
So it's funny because they say 100 men versus critical thought. They're assuming that it just would be a free-for-all, like I said, right? I said coordinate your attacks, and there's a way. And another guy said, how are you going to kill it? I think people escalate the gorilla since it's so big and massive and strong that it's impervious to anything. Like they're beings made of flesh and bone just like we are. Now, they're denser, of course, but if you hit something in the head enough times, you're going to kill it. And that's why I say blunt force. But obviously you got to be able to get it into a position where you can do that. So that's why it's not as easy as it sounds, obviously.
Thought. Let's visualize this for a little bit. We're talking about a 400-pound animal that can grow up to 6 feet tall. According to the experts, the average silverback gorilla weighs somewhere between 5 to 10 times, or is actually 5 to 10 times stronger than us humans. And just like a lot of you are guilty of out there, mostly guys, we have spent way too much time today thinking about all of this to the point that we actually created a very unofficial stay tuned now poll at work with like 63 to 38% split amongst our team. 63% going to the gorilla. But what do the experts say? Our next guest has over 2 decades of experience studying and researching gorillas.
I think we could win.
Thank you so much for indulging with us here, Dr. Tara Stoinski. I know this is a weird conversation, and I want to say that this is a dumb conversation, and I'm hoping we can talk about way more pressing matters in a second. But can you just settle this for us real quick? Like, if 100 normal, unarmed guys got into a fight with one gorilla, how would it go?
Well, it's a very interesting question, and it's been super fun to see how much it has engaged people on the internet. I talk about gorillas all day long, so I love that other people are talking about them as well. I don't think there's a definitive answer, but I have to say that I would be on the side of the humans in this case. Gorillas.
You heard that? So she said on the side of the humans, and I think she's about to say, because of science reasons I just gave, they're going to get exhausted. We're able to cool down. If an animal overheats, it is fatal if they keep going. Think about when you were like exhausted to the point you feel like you're going to pass out. Now imagine that if you can't cool down. Factor in heat from the outside, it's even worse. Like things like heat stroke get athletes all the time. There's people down here in South Florida when I was playing sports that passed away during practice, during football season, because all the heat's contained, it can escape. And even though you're sweating, it's hot, it can do a lot of damage. Now imagine that, but your system's not built to sweat like we are. Look at like a dog, right? I have a dog, a lot of people own dogs. They have to pant. Most animals got to do that. So they lap the heat, but if they can't get cooled down, so they're going to get vulnerable in that moment. And that's where you can get pressure on them to hold them down, because enough weight will hold them. Because you think about 100 average size guys, I even say big. What if they're like the size of Thor or someone from powerlifting strongman competitions? That's different. But let's say they're average size. I'm 6 foot 220, so I'm a little bit above average. But let's say like 5'9", 170. Enough of those guys, 10 of those guys, that's 1,700 pounds. That's double his weight. So there's something there. And then if you just have those guys holding them down, they start with your feet, not your hands, because much more fragile. Kick them with the head, you can beat them. Now, obviously, we don't want to hurt any animal, so let's not go to that extreme. But the scientist, she agrees.
Come to this with, a ton of power, all that upper body strength. You can see them here kind of just smashing people right and left. They've got incredible jaw strength. But I think the sheer number of humans that they would be up against, and the fact that humans could hopefully coordinate their behavior, tag team, take a little bit of a rest while the gorilla would just be going full steam the whole time, would really put the advantage in for the humans.
Yeah, I mean, like the fact that
So
we
I'm
can
gonna
all
stop it
communicate,
there.
and I get.
And he said something about communication. For some reason, people kept negating that. And this segues into the last point I want to make. This somehow became a feminist men versus women issue. I saw another video where they talked about, a man couldn't do it. Women would be even better. Now, if I would say anyone had a chance, it probably would be men. I don't want to get canceled for that, but I'm saying what I'm saying because it comes down to strength. And her argument was more so women are better coordinators. Men want to have a leadership, a hierarchy. And when it comes down to battle, you want to have organization, whether it's sport or war, like we really had through tens of thousands of years of human history. But this is what she said.
All of this is predicated on the idea that some way you have the ability to be able to sync up with the other men to coordinate your attacks. What's most likely going to happen is that a bunch of the men are going to charge in at the same time, uncoordinated, and that in and of itself would not be enough to take him down. Which is why I say, at the end of the day, the women would have the best chance. We can communicate information with each other just by looking at each other. I think that women would have better coordination skills as a group that would allow us to even have a little bit of a leg up when it comes to the attack.
Now, you see how that was put? And I don't get this notion, this is where I guess my performance psychology background will come in. I don't get this notion that we just can't think. That sounds a little bit sexist to me, that we're not able to coordinate and come together as a whole when it comes down to if this was a life or death situation. Let's say it wasn't for sport. Let's say we're in the wild and for survival reasons, we're going to have to coordinate. And that's anybody, right? So if you do flail into it, just going crazy like in that simulated video, yes, I think a lot of people would die. But the scientist says the numbers, there will be casualties, of course. The gorilla's going to get some good blows in, but eventually it's going to get tired. We can go about a minute, 2 minutes before we really get fatigued from the anaerobic system, which is more power bursts. But then after that, we got the aerobic capacity to keep going at a slower tempo. So if it gets tired within a minute or two, guess what? That's when we kick in, and then you can send a new wave. Think about like the movie 300. They got them in waves. That way they were able to take on the greater opponent. I think it's the same thing here, but to make it seem as if men aren't competent, that just came out of left field. So what do you guys think? I know this is science and I'm big on objectivity, but do you think still the men have chance? I think yes. So let me know in the comments below if you agree with this or not. And as always, guys, get your mind right.